You should never trust a normal cat, let alone one that was already dead.
Sometimes dead is better.
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and sometimes dead is better. But every now and then a remake, or in this case a new adaptation, can be just as good. The new PET Sematary, directed by Kölsch and Dennis Widmyer, made me feel like I was 16 again, the time when my love for horror was at its peak. Nowadays it's not that easy anymore to put me in the right mood for a straight horror movie like this. But PET Sematary is crafted with so much passion and skill that it deserved to be listed among the very best Stephen King adaptations. It comes out exactly 30 years after the first film by Mary Lambert. Back in the day, King adapted this novel himself for the big screen. This time the screenplay was written by Matt Greenberg and Jeff Bueller. At its core it's still very much the exact same story, and why change it too much? It's still creepy and it still deals with our universal fear of death and the question if there's something coming after it. But they also made some very notable changes. Changes that don't significantly alter the story but let it play with some nice surprises and also some more emotional weight to it. So I very much bought into them. But in case you are not familiar with the 1989 film or King's 1983 novel, here's the basic premise, which starting point isn't that different from Jordan Peele's Us. That we get two fantastic new horror films in the course of just 2 weeks is really remarkable. Both films begin with a small family, 2 parents, 1 daughter and 1 son, driving to a new home where their lives will turn into a nightmare. The Creed family is leaving from the big city to a rural house, and not only do they get a huge property completely surrounded by woods, they also get their very own cemetery with it. The titular PET Sematary, which isn't just your normal burial site, because the ground is sour and what you lay to rest there won't stay dead. And sometimes that is better, because the resurrected are not the same anymore. Like in the original, it takes some time until the first family member, the cat Church, is coming back. But the film is strong enough to deliver on more than just the thrills. First of all, the cast instantly brings a lot of gravitas to the story and kind of elevates it almost into straight drama territory. Jason Clarke plays the father Louis, and he's a doctor, a man of science. In a very strong early scene, he tries to explain to his young daughter that she doesn't need to be afraid of death, even if it's very likely that there won't be anything like heaven or hell after it. His wife Rachel, played by Amy Seimetz, has a slightly different relationship with death and another understanding of what might come next. Because as a little girl she witnessed the death of her crippled sister Zelda and she feels responsible for it. And if you have read the book or watched the first film, you know that Zelda is one of the scariest parts of this story, and I can safely say that the scenes involving Rachel's memories are quite gruesome and stomach-turning. And like in any good old school horror tale, there needs to be that old man who knows about the secret of what's going on with that place. He's portrayed by John Lithgow, who forms quite a charming relationship with their young daughter Ellie, which is important for the film's emotional weight. Now, if you expect an innovative horror film with a super fresh take on the story, PET Sematary isn't really that, but its craftsmanship and the ability to constantly build the tension and keep that dark, brooding atmosphere throughout the entire film is where its strengths lie. From the very first tracking shot over the woods, it is soaked in nightmare material. It has a very chilling vibe to it, without depending too much on cheap thrills. I mean, there are plenty of jump scares, but they are used very effectively, and most of the time they aren't those cop-out jump scares that are there to fool you. They are genuine scary and always supported by a dense atmosphere. The film is also very dense when it comes to its themes: death, mortality, acceptance of loss, and all the grief that comes with it. What if you could see a loved one who has passed away one more time? But wouldn't the main reason behind it be your own needs? Because you can't adapt to the new situation, because the pain is too much? PET Sematary has always been a frightening story crafted around the big questions and the big fears in life, and this new adaptation feels like it's doing that justice. The film balances drama and horror, and it also gives you a lot of the macabre. When it comes to the violence, the film goes by the credo of less is more. This doesn't mean it's an easy watch for the faint of heart, quite the opposite. There are some very explicit moments in it, but as it is with the jump scares, they are used very effectively. If you're familiar with the material, you can already predict the most horrific moments, but all of them are handled very well, and I twitched several times. But then again, I am easily moved by certain effects. And again, even if you're familiar with the book or first adaptation, they spin almost all known elements in a slightly different way, and I thought they did it very well. Another big plus is the score by Christopher Young. When I saw his name pop up in the opening credits, and yes, what a delight, this film has opening credits, I was very happy because Young has composed some really epic horror scores in the past. Like Drag Me to Hell, or probably his best one, Hellraiser. His music for Pet Sematary isn't as prominent and recognizable, it's much more functional, amplifying the film's eerie, nightmarish mood by distorted sounds and an overall distressing musical score. The craft in all filmmaking departments is quite high, and even though it's nothing that you haven't seen before, it's still very effective, and I think people who are into horror in general, and Stephen King specifically, will have a scary good time with it. So in German I'd say, Friedhof der Kuscheltiere feiert ein starkes Comeback. Hochkarätig besetzt, thematisch dicht inszeniert und konstant atmosphärisch mit einigen wirklich tollen Schockmomenten. I give Pet Sematary 8 out of 10. It's more like 8.2, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Pet Sematary. And also let me know what is your top 3 best Stephen King adaptations. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.